Hey everyone, welcome to potentially the most serious and important video of my career. Today we're going to be ranking the toilets in Digimon World on a tier list that I made. From File City to Freezeland, we'll cover them all. The pros, the cons, well actually we probably won't go into that much detail, they're toilets, but we'll see. As always, if you enjoy the content, please consider liking, commenting and subscribing. All that stuff really supports me as a creator. And we are really close to our 1,000 subscriber goal, so if you could, I'd really appreciate it. Anyways, on with the video. So I think it's only right to start where we start, in File City, serving as kind of the central hub of File Island. File City starts kind of empty, but throughout the game you recruit Digimon, which makes the city nicer, I suppose, and more full of life. One thing that you can always count on, though, is the toilet. As you'll be spending a lot of your time in the green gym that is right next to File City's main screen, it's convenient for the player that the toilet is right next to where you come through. If you ever play this game yourself, or if you have already, you know as well as I do that most of your Digimon's poops will be in this toilet. Therefore, I think it's only fair that it goes in A tier. It's not the best, but it is probably most consistent and the most reliable. Even if it is super bare bones to look at, and the city Digimon probably watch your Digimon poop, which can't feel nice for them. Next, we'll go directly south to the native forest. The native forest serves as like a starting area almost, like it's quite easy and generally branches off into lots of the other places like Dragon Eye Lake, Drill Tunnel, and later on the Tropical Jungle, which we'll get to later. As kind of the early easy region, you'd expect the toilet to be relatively well placed, and it is. However, while it is placed at kind of like a crossroads between a few key Digimon that you need to recruit, personally I don't really find myself using this toilet. Never too far from File City when I'm in the native forest. And furthermore, I've actually had my Digimon, shall we say, make a care mistake next to this toilet more often than actually using it. So, as a mix of its placement versus the amount I actually bother using it, I placed the native forest toilet in the B tier, which I think is totally fair. Side note, how many times have you been done over by the Vegemon in this area? Because as beginner friendly as the native forest is, red Vegemons are a pain, man. Moving on, it's time to talk about the tropical jungle. Similarly to the native forest, it acts as kind of like a crossroads between a few of the later game areas, or like mid game actually, more so than late game. However, it does have a few more challenging Digimon around, and this will affect the toilet in the tropical jungle because while the Yanmamon, I think they're called, the dragonfly guys, are okay, despite their kind of really powerful wind attack, the Mojimon scare me, man. Like, I just don't fight them. Even the Muchomon that are outside, like in the regular part of the tropical jungle, scare me. And therefore, going to this toilet's always a risk because, well, there's a lot of dangerous Digimon around. That said, I suppose it could come in handy because of the amount of useful Digimon around the area. Plus, if you're farming for the Piximon spawn, it is right there. You'll be on the screen anyway if your Digimon needs to go, which can save you a portable potty, I suppose. However, again, I don't really find myself using this toilet. I think, yeah, usually because of the proximity to the Great Canyon, which we'll talk about later, I end up usually using the toilet there, or maybe the one in the Dino region, which again, we'll talk about later. Next to the mangrove region of the tropical jungle is the Amida forest, where you can recruit Centaurimon. On the other side of this is the ancient Dino region, which is a prehistoric zone divided into the glacial time zone and the speedy time zone, where time flows differently. However, before this is the toilet, right where you fight Tyrannomon, which is probably one of the harder fights at the start of the game. However, all of this together makes for a memorable area. As the area is quite linear, the toilet being right at the start does make you prepare before just charging in. However, it's not too important considering at this point you probably already have a shop and maybe even portable potties. Despite this, I think this is actually quite a decent toilet. However, again, there's just nothing really special about it. I suppose the view is nice, but we don't get to see it from that side, do we? So instead, I'm going to give it a B tier. Although, you know, it does kind of creep up a little bit, just because it's in an area where, after fighting Tyrannomon, there's no danger. So that's a win, I guess. So the Great Canyon. I could talk about the area, about Ogremon twice, or Shellmon, or how it connects to the Overdale, or any of that stuff. But the toilet, much like the area, for me, is inexplicably linked with one thing and one thing only, that being the Monochrome shop. When trying to recruit Monochromon, you will be spending 8 hours a day in his shop, at which point, when you leave, your Digimon will more than likely need to poop. And boom, the toilet's right there, which is clearly on purpose, but also is a lifesaver. And so, for that reason, in addition to the aesthetics, in the sense that it is literally, for some reason, the nicest looking toilet in the game, it is literally pristine and tiled, despite being in the middle of a freaking mountain range or whatever. I suppose a canyon, but I digress. This has to be an S tier toilet. I mean, for the Monochrome shop alone, just for convenience and not having to change screens or anything, because loading times in this game are a little less than ideal. Obviously, that's because it's old and it's not, you know, the game's fault, but still, just the fact that you can go straight from the Monochrome shop to the toilet, while it also has one of the cleanest looks in the game, this has to be an S tier toilet, and so it goes straight in the top tier. This is the best in the game. Spoiler alert. Nothing will beat this. So, personally, one thing about me is that I love the snow. I love winter, love all that kind of stuff. And Freezeland is the de facto snowy area of the game. It's like an ice biome, I suppose, if I were to put it in Terraria terms. And it is quite a tough area, to be fair. The enemies are tougher, with, I believe his name's Hyogomon, the icy Ogremon that just hangs around. And there's a lot of tough recruits here too, like Garurumon.
I'm in danger!
Frigimon, which is a bit difficult because you have to force your Digimon to pass out due to sickness. In fact, speaking of, the whole area, I believe, is the only area in the game where your Digimon can just get sick from being there. Although I might be wrong, and that might come from my bias towards dinosaur-type Digimon who are usually not a fan of the cold. Regardless, the area is quite cool. However, I can't in good conscience rate the toilet for multiple reasons. One being that it's surrounded by dangerous Digimon. And honestly, more importantly, imagine how cold that toilet seat is. Considering your Digimon only goes number 2, they gotta sit on that, and it's gonna be freezing. Therefore, bottom tier. Mount Panorama is the area between the native forest / drill tunnel and the Gear Savanna. This might just be me, so I'll ask you guys. How many of you knew that there was a toilet here to begin with? Because personally, I must have walked past this toilet a million times and I did not know it was there. Or maybe I did and I've just forgotten, but generally, I don't think I've ever used this toilet. To reach this, you realistically are going to want to go through the drill tunnel once you've recruited Dromogimon, or I suppose once he's finished drilling the shortcut which lets you recruit him. Personally, I don't find this very convenient at all, just because, again, I never go this way, and furthermore, if I'm exploring this area anyway, I'll just go to the Gear Savanna. I mean, if I'm being honest, I completely forget that Mount Panorama is its own area. Like, I usually just count this in with the Gear Savanna, but I suppose it is technically its own place, with its own recruits, Vadermon and Unimon, I guess. But still, toilet's kinda mid and forgettable, therefore, not gonna rate it very high at all. Right, so speaking of, the Gear Savanna. I like the Gear Savanna. It's quite a cool area. It's one of those where you're officially in the mid-game, and that meant a lot to me as a child who very much struggled with this game a lot, as fans will know. And positioning-wise, the toilet is quite cool too, because it goes dead in the middle of a lot of important places and recruits. As it is close to Leomon's area, it's close to Biomon therefore, it's close to Patamon, it's close to Elecmon, it's very close, and it's also next to Trash Mountain. However, if we're looking at it from a toilet standpoint, the toilet itself, while in a convenient place, is lodged in the side of Trash Mountain, and personally, I don't know about you, but I would not want to poop there, nor would I want to stand there and wait while my Digimon poops there. because it is in the side of a trash mountain, which is entirely inhabited by trash Digimon, not the least of which being the King Sukamon, the giant turd himself. Therefore, I can't imagine using this toilet is very pleasant. And therefore I've got to rate it low, I'm afraid. Right, so last, but just about not least, the Geko Swamp. Well, this is just past the misty trees, and it's full of frog-like Digimon, like Gekomon, or the little purple guy whose name eludes me right now. The area serves to basically bridge the gap between the misty trees and, well, Shogun Gekomon, who trades you Digimon cards for points, which can be traded for certain items, probably the most important of which being the improved rod. While from a gameplay standpoint, if you've been lost in the misty trees, it's probably very helpful to have this here just before you go and talk to Shogun Gekomon. However, it is quite difficult to find overall, and I suppose it is quite out of the way. And more to the point, it's in the middle of a swamp, which is nature's toilet, if you think about it. I mean, it's basically Shrek's house. And therefore, I mean, honestly, I just gotta think this whole area smells terrible. And so I can only rate this low because of that, really. Okay, so here's the final ranking. Feel free to let me know if you agree or disagree. Granted, it is a tier list of toilets in like a 25-year-old game, so, you know, maybe take the opinions here with a pinch of salt, because honestly, I pretty much made these up on the day that I wrote the script and then changed a few of them when I basically ignored the script and only paraphrased parts of it that I liked, which led to this recording. That's right, I'm off script. I can say anything I want, like thanking our newest member, who is on screen now. You too can support the channel financially by joining. It's £2 a month, but you absolutely don't need to. But I just wanted to make that known. As always, if you want to support the channel non-financially, please like, subscribe, and, you know, comment. All this kind of interaction really boosts engagement and helps people find my content, which in turn helps me grow as a channel, which is the ultimate goal. So I would really appreciate all of that stuff. And with that having been said, I really hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.